Satoko is a character that really grows on you as you get deeper into the story. At first, she's just an annoying brat who likes setting traps and playing pranks on her friends. But reading further, you come to know her backstory and how it relates to who she is now. At the time, her parents were not, her brother was missing, and she was living alone, previously with her aunt, but also she was not. And it came to pass that her uncle, the husband of her aunt which was not, came back into her house, which was deserted as no one lived therein, and she was living with Rika, and demanded that she be back into her house, to do all the house chores and for him to command to do whatsoever he wanted her. And at the first time we see this, seeing how poorly she was treated, we're confused. Why did she not report this thing so that she could continue living the life she was living without having to deal with him? And the weird thing was that it seemed that everyone was accepting it as it was, without showing any form of resistance. And as Keiichi saw over time that her condition became worse, he demanded that it be reported to the authorities. And then we realized that things were not as easy as they might have seemed. We haven't the right to barge in on someone else's family and demand that someone therein be removed from him. We need witnesses and proof that something wrong is happening in the first place. However, it was that she, for some reason, was very obstinate in rejecting any help she could get. So every time someone from the clinic visited her house and saw the bruises that she had, she always excused it as an accident that she had. She also acted as though there was nothing wrong with her and her uncle, making him who visited her think nothing of it and report that she was fine. It was also shown that before, when her mother was still alive, that she had falsely accused her stepfathers of abuse multiple times, for her mother kept marrying and divorcing different men and to none of them she could adjust. Because of these repeated false accusations, the clinic became skeptical whenever there was a report of this thing about her. Her behavior starts making sense in the answer arcs, in which we saw how huge a burden she was to her brother. That she was in fine living conditions, with her mother and brother alive, and her stepfather, who has done no wrong to her. Yet she, though understandably as a child she was, disliked him, which culminated into her killing her own mother and stepfather, mistaking their attempt to get closer to her when they took her, her mother and stepfather, out to a park, to the top thereof where was a viewing platform, under which was a muddy river, as an attempt to kill her, for she thought that she had been a great burden to her family, of which they would rid themselves on this day, on this park, where if she be pushed to fall into the river, no one would know and they would become a happy family. And so she pushed them over the railing and they did fall. And this started the mess that was her and her brother needing to live with their aunt and uncle, who lashed out by abusing them because of the way the villagers treated them, in which she always leaned upon her brother against them, which resulted in her brother always taking the abuse and slowly descending into madness, killing his aunt and missing. Hence we can see that her obstinacy in enduring her uncle was her way of repenting for her sins, for she was the first cause of her own suffering. If she pushed not her parents that they fall, she would not have to live with her aunt, and for that would have been in fine living conditions. I really like the Mion chapter, in which she has this other side of her, a more sensitive feminine side, which I read as showing that she didn't really want to be the Mion who was going to be the head of the Sonozaki family, that she was still inside just a girl, which was shown to be the case, as she said that she was mostly doing it for her grandmother, and she thought that it was not fair that because she and Shion were switched on that day, that they were living very different lives, with her sister not being able to live as freely as she could. Moreover, it is really nice to see that the story of their being switched was somewhat hinted at by the interactions between them, as Shion kept teasing her like an older sibling would. Oishi was the only character on whom I could lean in the insane world that was the question arcs. He also seemed to be the only one who was, as we were, an outsider. Though of course we realized at the end that he was wrong, as he had some biases, but it was still admirable that he was so passionate about it that he would sacrifice his job and pension. Keiichi's voice actor did a really great job. Her actions and feelings toward the Sonozaki family are justifiable, but man, she's a big simp. I don't really have strong opinions on her. I guess she's like Shion, where you can sympathize with her actions. Takano's story was really different, but it is an interesting and persuasive one that can make you sympathize with her goals. The other Rika, like the one in the 4th chapter, who is all-knowing, further adds confusion while also giving hints toward her not being the mastermind thereof, for it would not make any sense if she were the one who planned them and yet kill herself at the end thereof. As for the other characters, I don't necessarily think them bad, I just don't think about them as I do these. If you like the video, subscribe and hit the bell for more videos like this.